Okay guys, welcome to the podcast. Podcast number, I think 16. I've lost count now a little bit. Today's podcast is with Paul Baker, one of our ninjas. So first thing, Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, John.
Cool, so Paul, you've been coming down now for, is it a year now or slightly over? 13 months?
14.
14 months,
yeah.
Excellent. So as we often do with these things, I kind of like to start at the beginning. So tell us a little bit about the Paul of 14 months ago, before we met him.
By his own admission, he was overweight. There was always a number of kilograms that I thought that I can't go above, and I got to very close to that number, and saw some adverts on Facebook, and came down to the meeting because I had to do something about it. So for me, it was 100 kilos. I was 99.1, I think.
Ooh, 900 grams.
And I just thought there was just something that I'm not going to let myself go over there.
Was that 100 kilos just because it's a round number that seems a lot, or was it based on anything?
It was based on my perception of me, that would be too heavy for me.
Okay, cool, good stuff. So obviously you came down to the meeting then, and you got cracking on the challenge. So tell us about how you got on then.
At first you really ache, and then you find, I mean, I have done sports and things before, so I sort of knew what was coming in some ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard at first, but then it's really, really good.
Awesome, good stuff. So obviously you got the aching side of it, the exercise side and all that, which you quickly adjust to. How did you find the rest of it, other things that you might have found easy, difficult, okay? How was the whole process, would you say?
I only found the food a bit difficult because I was in a certain situation at the time. I was homeless at the time and living in hostels. So I just found like affording and cooking and things. I didn't have a kitchen or.
Sure.
But I still managed to do it, and I found it a challenge and one that I really liked.
Well, that's great actually, because a lot of people do, when they first start with this, point out that what we recommend does cost more both in money and in time and effort than other ways of eating. And that's completely true. And I think unfortunately, when you look at a lot of fit pros, they'll say it doesn't cost any more to eat healthy. And it maybe doesn't by their definition, when their definition is changing from white pasta to brown pasta, or changing the rice or the bread or what have you, which is a step in the right direction, sure, but I don't think there's any getting away from it that eating what is genuinely a real healthy balanced diet does cost more than some bad diets do. There are some bad diets that actually cost more if you're getting takeout every single night, and actually that does cost more, but we fully appreciate and we won't shy away from the fact that it does cost more. But you obviously did things there to drive down that cost both financially and time-wise. So I think people listening will be interested to hear what it was you did.
Yeah, well, I think any food at that time would be expensive anyway. But the thing is that I knew I could trust it straight away that is the thing that I should be eating. So yeah, you do things like go to the supermarkets at night and walk around all of them. And then there was no fridge at the time, so they were just all hung in a carrier bag out of the window because it was minus whatever, then it was keeping it cold. But yeah, I was going to the different supermarkets and just getting all the veg and the meats and the best stuff I could at the best prices I could. And it worked. It
makes a difference because at the very least, often when they reduce their half price, we potentially get them dirt cheap. The best one I ever had was obviously years ago now, when I was a personal trainer in Sheffield. I went to the Sainsbury's just over the road. I always finished at about 9:15 in the club, and the Sainsbury's was closed at 10. So I'd just pop in, because I was pretty much going past it anyway, and I'd just see what they got reduced. And I remember one time, all the meat was down to 10p each. So I literally brought, it's probably 50 different bits of meat, so £5 I spent, but it was probably a good few £100 worth of stuff, and stocked my freezer up. And I know plenty of people who have done things like buy extra freezers, which obviously is a cost in the short term, but then you can save long term if you can get stuff in like that, fill it up, even your veg, etc. If you're saving £10, £20 a week, that soon more than justifies the cost of freezers, etc. And for people listening to this, it doesn't need to be checking every single supermarket. I've got a few strategic ones I always check, because either I'm passing them, so for example I always drive past the cost cutter in Tidworth on the way home, and nearly always I need something anyway, so it's not like I'm going in just for that, but I'll pop in, and if there's anything reduced, I'll raid the reduced items and stock them up. Time-wise as well, was there anything you did time-wise to reduce the effort that would take?
I didn't have any time restraints at the time because there's no job or anything. So no, I can't think of anything that. Yeah, I wasn't into batch cooking or.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, if there's a great big mince or something, then I'd cook the whole thing, and then that'd do me about 3 meals.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess a little bit.
One thing I remember that you did do that you told me much later, which isn't a same time thing or whatever, but you used it was a side-on wardrobe, wasn't it, for your for a table? Which I love the creativity there. You hadn't got something that you needed to do, and you made an adjustment with something else, and that was perfect.
In the hostels, there was only like certain things in the room. So yeah, I had the clothes in a box and I tipped the wardrobe on its side, and then they had a George Foreman steamer, like a small glass oven, and a small gas camping stove, and that's how I jerked when I first started.
Awesome. I think if that puts into perspective that if you manage to do those things, not easily, but you manage to do them without too much of a problem, then really there's no reason that most people can't do it. I think, generally speaking, the reason that most people don't do it is because they kind of don't try.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not easy, I'm not saying it is, but it's 160 hours in the week. Most people have sufficient money if they choose to divert it in certain areas to do it, and if they choose not to, that's cool, that's their choice, but I think it's very rare that it's impossible for someone to eat healthier, shall we say. That's quite an unusual circumstance where that's the case. So your first 8 weeks or so, how did you get on in the challenge?
Just about did it.
Yeah, I think you were just over £20, something like 20.2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Awesome, that's great stuff. And we mentioned obviously the eating side of it, the training side of it and what have you there. How did you find any, if any, changes in mindset and the way you were doing things?
The first changes that come along is that you realise that you've been doing things wrong food-wise and exercise-wise, because your body goes through different things at first, so you do feel a little bit sick, and then there were certain teas that I used to drink for different things, bloatedness and sickness, and lemon and ginger tea and stuff like that helped me through that. And then I mean, the following the damn instructions is just, it's not only what you do at that point, but it's for now 14 months, it's still what I'm doing now, and like other ninjas have said before on the podcast, it is what works. You just do as you're told, really. Ultimately,
it's that simple. It's human nature to overcomplicate things, I think. I've done a couple of blogs on it recently, and we all do it. I find myself doing it constantly with stuff related to the kids or related to the running of the business and all that. And you find yourself thinking, oh, it's simpler, or why is it so difficult, etc. And it's often not. It's simple. It's not easy to do, but it's not. Very few things in life that we might do on a daily basis are actually all that complicated. Really, raising kids difficult, but they're actually quite simple. I could write down the things that you need to do on half a sheet of A4. I could write down the things you need to do to lose weight, get fit and get healthy on the back of the stand. Again, not easy, but it's human nature to overcomplicate things as a way to justify not doing them often. So that was your first couple of months, and then obviously there's been another 12 since. So how was the journey of Paula over that time?
You learn different things about yourself, and it's the most amazing thing for me is that the thing that you actually come here for doesn't end up being a be-all and end-all, and to me it wasn't the thing that I really love about coming here now, because by my own admission and my own measure, I've never been strong enough. Mm-hmm. And I'm starting to see that by following the instructions that I am becoming stronger now, and it's that's the side of me that's driving forward.
Awesome, good. Yeah, it's always interesting to hear how people evolve, and again we say many times that we almost feel that weight loss is what we have to put above the door to get people in, because that's what we're so used to. It's almost a socially acceptable way to express what we want, and we almost come to think that's all we want, that weight is the be-all and end-all. It's only when we get people in the door with that promise and talking about those sort of things that they then start to realise that whilst that is still a factor, it's not the entire thing. And it's always interesting to see how it varies person to person as well. So some people like getting stronger, some people like getting faster, some people aren't bothered about that in as such, but really like what that then makes in their difference, their ability to do other things. So more energy with the kids, etc., or a balance of all those things. There's no right or wrong. One thing you obviously do as well is your is it motocross?
Yeah.
I'll make sure I got the right term there as well. Mm-hmm. Now run us through your history with that, because you've done that on and off for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, I first started going when I was 2 months old, I believe, or
2 months old?
somewhere between 1 and 2 months. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I grew up in fields at weekends.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the love of my life, really.
Cool. I don't know, realise you've been that long.
Yeah. And then I didn't start racing until I was 19.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have a high self-esteem, or didn't have a real, well, I guess I still haven't got a real realisation of who I am, and that's what I love about this place, because I'm finding out about me just by following the instructions and by listening to coaches and who believe in me, and now I'm believing in myself more from that. So when I started racing when I was 19, I was 19 stone, because I used to comfort eat for some of the pains that I was going through at the time, and then you realise that you can't, it was a sidecar motocross bike as well, so I was a passenger, and guys have got to be really fit. So went to the leisure centre and bought a block set of 10 lessons, and you only pay for 8. And then it was all circuit training at the time. So it was in a dance studio upstairs, so you did those stair runs.
This is at Macclesfield Centre.
Yeah, you did stair runs beside with the humidity of the pool, and basically that guy got me down to I think about 14.5 stone, and I stayed with him for quite a few years. And that took me on to the international team in '97, finished 3rd in Britain in the AMTA Championship and 12th in Europe in the INBA. And then later on I knew that I got so far as a rider or a passenger, and then because my passion was in that, then I joined some big teams and became a mechanic and a truck driver for them.
Exciting. You've been in a lot of cool places with that as well, haven't you, from what you've said? Remind us where you've been.
Yeah, there's a lot of European countries and America. Yeah, done quite a few Grand Prix. And
exciting. So how long did you do that for?
About 5 years on and off I worked for Grand Prix teams.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So going a slight step back there, you mentioned about some of the things that you've learned about yourself then during your time here. You've covered some of that already, but run us through what's Paul learned about himself in the last 14 months?
Well, he's learned that anything's possible. He's learned that you can make mistakes, you're allowed to make mistakes. When I was younger, I think there was just this thing to try and be perfect, and there's no such thing, and that every battle is always a battle with yourself, and that it's okay if you don't win it on one day or the next day, but to keep going forward for me is the most important thing. I think I learned a lot about myself in between bands 6 and 8, so the green and the black. I really started to, it clicked then, and then I had some hard months sort of after that, and then I think for me it's starting to click again now.
That's good. Progress is never a straight line. Again, that's one thing hopefully we get people to realise when they come here. People expect their improvements, whether that be in the amount of weight they've lost, how much stronger they get, how their mood changes, how their confidence changes. They expect it to be a diagonal straight line. Unfortunately, it's not. It's, for those people watching the live podcast here, it's generally like that. So it's up and down, but as long as the overall direction, month on month, year on year, is forward, then that's huge. You just said there, and I know from what you said to me elsewhere at other times, that the Paul of now is hugely ahead in, I'd say, every aspect of the Paul of 14 months ago. So if there's been the odd blips along that route, that's fine. It's still huge forward progress. A couple of things have just popped into my head as well that you've done in the time since we've known you as well. So obviously last September you were involved in Born Survivor. It seems like everyone I've had on the podcast did Born Survivor. Just tell us a little bit about your experience of doing that.
So I was drafted in at the last minute. Luckily for me, there was a space and I managed to get that. So not a lot of time to prepare. But again, the thing with following the instruction is, in the past you would have thought, am I fit enough, am I strong enough to do this? But yeah, I'd been coming here for 8 months at that time. So yeah, you're easily okay. So you don't have to eat anything special, drink anything special, because if you do your daily routine, your body's not going to let you down. You can be up for things like that. But again, you gain things from that, the amount of people that did it, and the togetherness and the teamwork to get through it, and what you actually can achieve. When you look at that wall, there was no way I'd be going up that wall in February. I'm hoping to do it again this time, and I want to get up on my own steam this time. It's just power in the legs. One
of my favourite photos from last year's Born Survivor is where it looks like you're baptising Amy. If anyone doesn't know, Amy's just sat over to the side here giggling, but Amy did the monkey bars across the top of the pool of water, whatever you want to call it, and the dismount wasn't quite perfect, shall we say, at the end. She ended up falling back in, and it's just a perfectly timed photo taken by, I think it must have been John McKellar. where Amy's resurfaced and Paul's helping up, and it looks like he's baptising her. It looks like he's got a hand about to go over her head and push her under the water. Also, one thing I remember from Born Survivor as well, it's a different way of looking at helping someone with their confidence, but I think on that day we get a bit of confidence to lie as well, because I remember you mentioned about stepping in last minute as replacement for somebody else. There's a bit of a problem with the changing over the names and what have you, and you were a bit apprehensive about going up and pretending to be someone else, but a bit of a push and encouragement we soon got you in. Technically a little bit naughty, but we got you in, it was awesome. And then not much after that, so another, 6 or 8 weeks later, you're obviously involved in the Everest climb as well, weren't you?
Yeah.
So for those who either weren't members then or followed any of our stuff at that point, was it late October, about the 25th, 6th of October, something like that?
Yeah.
We decided to raise some money for children with cancer. That's literally the name of the charity, does exactly what it says on the tin, by trying to climb up and down the 108 steps, which for those of you that don't know it, is a set of 108 steps in Macclesfield from near the train station up to St Michael's Church. We decided to try and climb that the equivalent number of times of climbing Mount Everest and back down from sea level, not even from when the actual climbers start, because obviously they can drive up past Kathmandu and what have you, from sea level to the top and back down in 24 hours. And you were keen right from the start to get involved in that, which so perhaps asks different questions about anything, but tell us about your experience of doing the Everest climb.
So again, when you say about learning about yourself, affording food was still hard at the time, and I realised that I should have asked for help now, and you'd go about your preparation way different, and the food that you take with you, you prep differently, because that's a much bigger animal than I ever thought. I mean, I never underestimated it or overestimated it. I just thought, yeah, I can do, and I managed half of it, but it kicks your butt big style, things like that. It really. But
you managed to climb. So essentially, because we can discount the bit of Everest that you can, no one walks from sea level to the top of Everest. So you probably climbed from probably more than base camp to the top and back down again, or something along those lines. It was still a hell of a climb. I mean, did you do
275? Yeah.
275 times up and down the 100.
I think it's steps. Equal to like most of the mountains in Switzerland and right. Some of the higher ones. Yeah.
You climbed the Matterhorn or something like that, which is still a hell of an achievement. Which bits of that did you find the hardest? Because I know that I found the hardest, but when did you find it started to get difficult, and how was your experience with that?
When your legs are near, so going up uses a different muscle set than coming down. So I was sort of injured for a month after for ligament down the side of my knee, which would have been from coming down, and I really got to thank everybody that came along and helped, because they help you through lots of different things. But when I realised that it started getting hard was the numbers on the board that you put in per hour, they're obviously coming down, and the rest time is taking longer. And one of the rests, I think it was just about going dark at night, and you lie down to roll your legs, and you realise that the next thing you know, somebody stood over you with a drink because you've fallen asleep, and you know that your body's started to shut down in a way that you've never used your body before like that, and you don't realise what happens to it.
It was amazing how much you slowed down, wasn't it? Because my intention was, I think, did you have to average, I think originally we'd underestimate the height of the steps. The original intention was to average 25 times up and down per hour. So I started off at a pace of 30, thinking I could do half a day at that, and then slow down to 20 for the second half of the day. Thankfully, we had the steps remeasured whilst we were doing it, and it worked out. I think it was to average 22 times an hour. I thought, okay, well, I can do this. Managed 30 for a number of hours, slowed down a little bit to 25, etc. But then my last few hours, I think I was literally doing 6 or 8 times an hour, if that.
My worst hour was 2.
Yeah. My worst hour was 0. Yeah,
well, I had 0 too, but the one where I was actually mobile was 2.
It was depressing, especially when like the drunks started coming out of the pub and we're walking up the stairs at normal speed, and like, they weren't laughing us because we wouldn't do it more than once, but it was definitely noticeable at that point. But we did it, and we raised £3,000, which was more than worth a month of not being able to walk. Out of everything I've ever done, I know exactly how I feel with your legs there. That was the thing that physically affected me the longest. It was an entire month before I could walk properly again. Several days before I could get up and down without taking 10 minutes, like an old man, literally hauling myself up off on the sofa or the cupboard or what have you. Cool. So, what else would you say has happened then? So, again, the journey over the last 14 months, how else has Paul changed and moved on?
So he's he's happy. He's a lot happier now. He's a lot more self-confident. I'm willing to have a go at anything. I mean, I know there'll be another challenge coming, and I'm looking forward to it. And I know that whatever it is, that you'll believe in us, and any of the challenges you do, like you say, the Lone Survivors, or if you come along and do half of it, bit of it, all of it, whatever. It's not about what you do. I mean, for us, and I'm quite competitive with myself, but it's not. It doesn't matter what other people think.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to be involved and to have a go, then
definitely.
Yeah. So now I am more confident to try sort of anything.
So that's the key as well. We've already got 81 people booked in for Born Survivor this year, which is awesome. I want to get 100. I only get 106 actually to make it the biggest ever sort of get together that Ninjas have ever had. And a number of people who've already booked in and who are thinking about it and unsure have said, what if I can't do certain obstacles? And the obvious answer is you have to walk around them. So they might end up doing, say, 28 out of the 31 obstacles, or 25 or 22, or whatever it may be. And nearly every time I explain that to someone, they almost see that as a sign of failure. Point out it's not. You're still doing 28 more obstacles and 10k more than anyone else would be doing that day, more than anyone who's sat on the sofa. Just because you're not doing as much as some people do, it doesn't matter. Again, it's all relative. It's that 26 obstacles and 10k for some of the members is going to be 1,000,000 times physically harder and 1,000,000 times more of an achievement for them than it is for some of us to do the 10k and all 31 obstacles. And again, key is, exactly like you said, the only competition is with yourself.
Yeah.
If you're moving onwards, again on average, not necessarily linearly, but if you're moving onwards and upwards month by month, year by year, that's all you can ask.
My advice to people there as well is, because I jumped off a seesaw. Because I've got,
yes,
I've got
a seesaw.
My muscles were tightening up. All the excuses will come out now, but I've got a metal hip on the left side, and I bottled it. So for now, I would say that I should have asked for help. You were stood there. I should have got you to help me down it.
Yeah.
So for anyone next time, you can do all the obstacles if you get help. So that's what I do next time.
Very wise, very wise. Nothing wrong with asking for help. And again, just as a bit of an aside there, I think people underestimate how much everyone gets help. So people look at other people who they see to be successful in whatever aspect of their lives and think that they're doing it by themselves and without help. But that's nonsense. Like everything I've ever done in my life that I've ever done well, I've had help. Whether it's literally as simple as reading a book about it, that's still getting help. Most of the members will know that me and Matt have various mentors and people that we work with, whether it be for business, our own training, lifestyle, etc. So we're paying them for help in improving our ability to do things in exactly the same way that members do with us. And there's nothing wrong with that. There might be the odd person, but I cannot think of a single example of someone who's ever achieved anything without any, completely purely by doing it themselves. There's always some element of help there. Just for the guys who are watching this live on Facebook, know, if you want to post any questions for Paul or myself or just in general, or Amy, who's still over there, then you just reply as a comment underneath this in the same way you would do a normal video. Also, just so you know as well, the last couple of podcasts have cut out partway through, and I came to the realisation afterwards that it cuts out at 30 minutes. You've got a maximum limit on live videos of 30 minutes, so we're approaching that now. So at some point in the next few minutes, I'll tell you when, but we may end this video and then start a new one immediately. So if we do end it, I'll explain that we're about to do it. All you need to do then is, if you're on my profile, just refresh it or find a link, click on it again, and you'll go to a brand new video. Let me just have a look to see if anyone's asked any questions. Dan said, give me a shout out. Dan, how are you? I've not seen Dan in about 10 years. It's good to see you, mate. Anyone else got any questions? Anyone who's thinking about doing Born Survivor? Anyone who's faced challenges in their life that they'd be interested to hear Paul's opinion on that? Obviously, someone who's gone through various difficulties and is coming out now stronger than ever. If you guys have got, not necessarily similar things, but other challenges in your life that you'd be interested to hear Paul's take on it, then let us know. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to lean very close to the iPad each time we do this because I haven't got my contact lenses in. But just while people think of any questions, Paul, anything else that you'd like to share with the people either listening live or listening to this at a later date? Anything about your journey or what you've done or what you think or believe that you feel will help people listening?
To not judge yourself so harshly when you first come in or when you've been in for so many months. To look at other people and to use them as inspiration, but don't feel condemned. Oh, I'll never get to be like them. I'm not sure I can ever do that pull-up. Just try and do that pull-up. Find out how you do it. Like, to me, the most impressive thing that I can do now is a variation of a press-up, because when I first came, I started on my knees. I've never been, again, by my own admission, strong upper body. But the type of press-up I can do now, I'm impressed with more than the fat I've lost. But the fat I've lost is important because, I'm lighter, I'm more healthy, I'm fitter, I feel much better. Yeah, I can do many more things now than what I could when I first came. But yeah, not to judge yourself too harshly and not to try and think about things and to sort of free yourself and to open up what's possible in your life and to enjoy it.
A couple of great points made there about, firstly, comparing yourself to other people. Comparing yourself to other people will only ever lead to unhappiness, because ultimately there's going to be at least one person in this world who's better than anyone at anything. So unless you're Usain Bolt, there's always going to be someone who's a faster runner than you. Unless you're Johnny Wilkinson, I mean, that is arguable, but there's always going to be someone who's better at rugby than you. And there's always going to be someone who has more money, more what have you. But it doesn't mean that you can't then improve your ability to do whatever that thing is, and that you should be affected by what that person's doing. So again, perfectly right, don't judge yourself and compare yourself to other people. And the second point you made there was great with the press-ups and the pull-ups there. People often see things like that, so exercises, but also stuff in life in general, as you either can or can't do it. And if you feel that you can't do something, then it's almost, well, where do you go there? It's too big a step to go from can't to can, and the key to bridging that gap there is to do a version of it. So there's nothing wrong with doing a press-up on your knees with your bum in the air to start with. And then each and every time you do it, you'll get a little bit fatter, eventually deeper, eventually knees will come up to full press-ups, and eventually you'll be doing a full press-up. You're still doing a press-up, it's just a scaled version of what's appropriate for you. And exactly the same with changing your eating. Some people look at the way that I eat, or I've been doing this for 15 years now, so I find it relatively easy, but it doesn't mean I changed to the way I eat overnight 15 years ago. Some people look at that and go, I can't do that, and don't make any attempts to then change anything. It could be that they could change their breakfast, or what they do on a Saturday night. There might be some small element of what they can change, and then build it up gradually until they get to the whole change. Just looking now, see if anyone's asked any questions. Ronnie says, great podcast. How have you we've got 1 minute until the end of this video. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to ask Paul a question, and if you guys want to jump on a fresh video on my feed. But the question is, from Ronnie, how have you overcome injury and stayed so positive? So guys, come and join us on my... Okay guys, we're going to get restarted. We've already got Team Beaver back, both Ronnie and Ben. So Ronnie's question from a minute ago was, Paul, how have you overcome injury and stayed so positive?
So, overcome injury by keeping the body moving, by techniques from the advanced sessions of scraping, stretching, resting sometimes. Just listening to asking for advice and then listening to what I was told. But some days when you can't train, just coming in and using the rollers or hanging off the bar and just sort of stretching your back out and different things like that. But basically making your body stronger where, as Matt said before, where the injuries are you can't do because you're not strong enough, not the other way around. Staying so positive because my reason why is greater than any pain that I get in. So when you get in pain, just be easy on yourself, don't be too hard on yourself, do everything you can like you've said before as well, don't just go completely off the rails with things. You're still worthy of being treated right, so treat yourself right as right as you can, and then just keeping the distance of where you want to go. So yeah, for me the reason why, and I've still got that big reason why I will have till the day I die, is stronger to me than any pain. So find out how to do it, and then this is the right place to find out how to do things, and then just listen and have a go. And if you're not happy with yourself one day, then come back and do better the next day.
Awesome. You've got a great point mentioned there was, and again it's kind of the answer to achieving anything is to find your reason why. So you've got your reason why there for overcoming injuries, staying positive, etc. And the deeper people get with their reason for wanting to do something, I find the easier it then becomes to do it. So people often start here wanting to lose weight. And again, it's because almost what we've been taught as a socially acceptable way to express what we really feel, and we almost forget what else we really want and why we want to lose that weight. And therefore we don't buy into that weight loss in quite the same degree. We sort of know we should do it, and it's partly because people think we should do it, and not that there's anything necessarily wrong with those things, but we don't get the same level of buy-in. When people realise their true why for doing it, that then becomes something that is powerful to them. And again, there's no right or wrong, it's different for every single person. And for anyone that's not seen my various blogs and what have you on the power of why, the key and the easiest way to find out why you want to do something is just keep asking yourself why, like an annoying child does. So, I want to lose weight. Why? Because I want to be slimmer. Why? And keep going until there is nowhere else to go. And whatever you end up with there will be more powerful and more inspiring and more able to stick with than just wanting to lose weight. So for example, for me, a lot of my why is related to mortality. I've said it in videos before, I'm petrified of death. I'm not religious, so the fact that I'm going to be... Until recently I thought I was going to be eaten by worms, and decided I'm now going to be burnt. Even then, that's still shit. I want to delay that as long as possible. I want to be as little as a drain on my children and my family as I can be, for my old age to be as relatively injury, illness, etc. free as it can be. I want to be around for as long as possible to see my kids, grandkids, maybe great grandkids, etc. And when you get deep into that, for me, that is so much more, that means more than the convenience of crappy food, or it means more than the difficulties and the challenges and the stuff you have to do to get fit and healthy. Nothing will ever beat that. If someone waves a cake in front of me, that cake versus living longer with my kids, when you're actually thinking that way, it sounds odd, but when you choose to think of things that way, it's a no-brainer. It becomes a really easy decision. So if you guys listening, and quite a few of you have rejoined already, that's awesome. If you find the reason that you think you're doing whatever you're doing almost not to be enough, if you struggle to stick with it and it doesn't inspire you and make you want to do whatever that thing is, just keep asking yourself why. Why, until you can't get any deeper. Whatever you end up with there, I promise you will be more inspiring and easy to stick to. So guys, cake and coffee, Ronnie, obsessed, Ronnie. We'll just do the last minute now. If anyone's got any extra questions, feel free to post them below. Just while that's coming in, Paul, any final words of wisdom?
Any final words of wisdom? Just keep coming in here and doing your best. I recently had a change around of the posters in here, and just to tell everybody that like every single ninja inspires me. There's something about something about everyone that walks through the store that tries the best. Everybody's inspiring. Just keep going. It's
awesome.
It's great to be a part of this family.
Nice one. Cool. Right, thanks for your time, Paul. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast.